Hi friends. So it's time to get creative. In the back of the classroom, you're going to find a worksheet, which doesn't feel very creative, but this is going to be a brainstorming worksheet to be able to figure out what you should put into your artwork. So step number one is going to be thinking about words or ideas that tell us about you, about who you are, what you like to do, what things you're interested in. And when you're writing your words, just like your teacher tells you, Mrs. Samala doesn't care if you can't spell the word right. I just want you to be able to sound out the letters as best you can and get that idea down in writing on your piece of paper. After you write your words or list them out, then it's your job to draw your symbol. Or maybe you draw your word and then you think, oh, I know what I should draw, and so then you draw your symbol over here. Either way works for me, but make sure your name is on the worksheet. I'll show you one that I created a while ago. So, actually my student teacher did this. So Miss Tuma wrote her name on here, and her words were happiness, summer, home, her dog was Axel, painting, and being active. So for happiness, she thought about being outside, running or exercising. She thought that these arrows made it seem like she was running. Summertime, what she liked to do in the summer. So sometimes for some of your ideas, you can even have more than one symbol, which is a great idea. Home, so that was a cool idea for a house. And then she drew the people in her house, and she drew them her own way. Maybe you would want to draw a stick person or a shape person. It's up for you to decide. Painting, and then being active, like having a goal or a target, and being outside at the right time, all of those kinds of things. Your job is going to get a piece of paper from the background or the back of the classroom that looks like this. This paper, I'd actually like you to rip off the edges, because ripping skills is really a good skill to use in art, and sometimes it looks cool when you rip things. So instead of using a scissors this time, you're going to take your fingers, and having your fingers very close to each other, you're going to rip and tear the edges of this paper off. When you go to rip off the long edges, they actually rip really easily, but ripping the short edges is harder, and I think it's just because of how the paper was made. Sometimes students like to have their fingers together and rip short rips. Sometimes students like to have one hand down and then they rip up, and sometimes they like to have the paper on the edge of the table to rip. Whatever way works for you is best. And I don't care if your paper gets wrinkly. Actually, it could even look more interesting to have it be wrinkly, so don't worry about that. So I'm ripping off my edges. There was a straight edge there I didn't want anymore. What you want to watch for on this is that you don't rip the paper so teeny tiny that you only have a piece of paper this small. So being careful about the ripping and controlling it a little bit will help. Look at how this edge just rips off so easily, and then I can go back in and tear. Again, starting with our fingers close together and then ripping apart is going to be the best way to go. These pieces of scrap paper can go into the recycle bin, and then you have a new sheet of paper to be able to take your symbols from and draw it on here. So some of the things that I would think about is like what I did on mine. I had my symbol sheet, and I like to fish, and I love being with my family, and I like being outside. So I did a repeat of those going all the way around the edges. We've been talking about repeating things a lot in textures, and now we're repeating our symbols. So you're going to create a repeated frame around your picture, and then I want you to put your main ideas in the middle. My main ideas were I love to camp, I love to go swimming or be by water, I like to be outside, which was my arrows. And actually, I like being outside in the day and at night. So I put both of them on there. And I also like to garden. So Mrs. Samala likes to do a lot of things, which I'll bet you do too. So you can put your big ideas here and your other ideas here. So like my fish like to go into the water. I like to be outside. I like to be with my family, and I like to be with my students too. So you create it that way. Then your next step would be to color that in. When you go to color it in, you're going to be using your colored pencils. And Mrs. Samala's challenge for you today is, instead of just coming in and coloring one color on everything, I'd want you to use two. So for my water, I use my blue and my purple to create a cool kind of looking water. We know water's blue, but it also has other colors in it as well. For my tent, I wanted my tent to be green, so I press lightly, and then I put a layer of yellow over the top. Or for my sun, I use yellow and orange. You can see that one hasn't been done yet. So you're using your creativity is the way to go. First, starting with this, and try not to rush through this part because this is the most important brainstorming part. And then we have this. Oh, and putting your name on the back is probably a good idea. My name is on here, so it can go on the back of this one as well. When you're done today, these will go inside of your table folders, and enjoy being creative and talking about symbols. Just the last thing to think about too with our symbols is we're not copying Native American symbols. Those symbols were special to them for different reasons, and from tribe to tribe. They were also, symbols meant different things. So you're creating your own unique symbols, your own ideas. And you can even talk about it with other friends to come up with new ideas. Thanks, friends. Bye.